Hello, today it is time for the first single review of 2024. I'm talking about Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. In the early morning hours of January 15 in 1978, almost 45 years ago, Kathy Kleiner survived a horrific attack at the Chi Omega House of Florida State University in Tallahassee, an attack in which her friends Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman were killed. The perpetrator who injured her severely was a man named Ted Bundy, who later confessed to 30 murders of young women in 7 states in the U.S. Kleiner released her memoir, A Light in the Dark, Surviving More Than Ted Bundy, on October 23 last year, published by Chicago Review Press. A few weeks earlier, on September 19, appeared Jessica Knoll's novel Bright Young Women at Mary Sue Ritchie Books. Knoll explicitly thanks Kathy Kleiner Rubin for talking to her, and Knoll's novel has a lot of similarities to what Kleiner had to go through. Pamela Schumacher is the president of the sorority in the house, and 2 of her friends are murdered, also on January 15, 1978, and she happens to see the killer, who has no name in the novel and who's only called the defendant. The novel is told out of the perspectives of Pamela and Ruth, Pamela Schumacher and Ruth Wachowski, who became the defendant's victim in Issaquah in Washington State in 1974. Knoll succeeds in delivering an impressive character study of several young women, of Pamela, of Ruth, and also Martina Cannon, who was Ruth's lover and travels to Florida immediately in the aftermath of the sorority murders, knowing that these killings have been committed by the same man who murdered her beloved Ruth. It is the women who are at center in this brilliantly told tale, the women who in Wikipedia articles and true crime shows, the word show has to be highlighted here, or in movie or Netflix adaptations often are reduced to mere numbers. These beautiful lives at an early age are those who survived but bear the burden of traumatic losses and experiences for the rest of their days. The murderer is often described as a mastermind in other stories in true crime shows, a highly intelligent man who spreads fear, but also a strange kind of fascination for the consumers of the true crime genre. In Bright Young Women, Jessica Knoll reduces the defendant to what he really was and what all of them are. Heartless, brutal, violent, and disgusting lowlifes, often with low IQ, deserve no attention actually of people. The defendant was not a genius. He was lucky to have been able to escape twice out of custody because of bad police work in Utah and Colorado. This only made the murders of Pamela's, yes, and Kathy's friends possible, and nothing else. Jessica Knoll lets the narrative jump forwards and backwards all the time in this book, with Pamela mostly narrating from 1978, then Ruth from 1974, but also Pamela revisiting Tallahassee in 2021 as an elderly woman who still is not able to not think back to the tragedy that took her best friend at age 21. She writes, 3 impeachments, 1 pandemic, the towers going down, Facebook, Tickle Me Elmo, Snapple Iced Tea. They never got to taste Snapple Iced Tea, but it didn't happen in some bygone era either. If they had lived, they'd be the same age as Michelle Pfeiffer. The defendant, though, deserves nothing but our contempt. Pamela Schumacher observes him in court, and she says, "The man was no diabolical genius. He was your run-of-the-mill incel, whom I caught picking his nose in the courtroom more than once." Knoll has written and accomplished nothing less but a feminist thriller that has a deeper meaning. I also read Eliza Clark's fictional true crime nonfiction book Penance a few weeks ago in December, and where Clark, in my eyes at least, is not achieving her goal to demask the true crime genre as a suspicious genre, where our curiosity about real horrible crimes is catered to by writers who sometimes do bad research with a main interest in selling and selling and selling. Jessica Knoll has delivered a psychological study of bright young women women whose lives and careers are often and too often stopped and affected to the negative by average and sometimes even evil men. At the same time, this book is a page-turner and it's very, very immersive. As a slow reader I am, which might not qualify me at all for BookTube, I had to read this in a few sittings. Highly, highly recommendable, and in its new approach to serial killers that we should follow and practice, it is the second book of its kind for me after having read last year's Edgar-winning novel Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka. Unfortunately, Knoll will probably not win an Edgar for this book. It would be the second of a kind that wins it, but she has certainly printed her name on the map after a success that she had also with Luckiest Girl Alive, which I haven't read yet, that became a Netflix movie with Mila Kunis. Thank you very much for watching this, and I see you very soon. Bye-bye.